Not limited by genetics. If
No.
anything, it's a springboard that you can launch yourself off of.
Hey yo! Here we go. Microphone check. 1 2 1 2.
Can you outwork your genetics? Is something so very, very important to know. Here's something that people throw around so much, that I am not genetically gifted. I don't have the genetics to do X, to do Y, to do Z. You know, I'm not like this guy. I'm not genetically gifted like that. I'm stuck in my own little box, right? You hear that so much. Maybe you even said that. I know at one point when I was first getting into athletics, you know, going before I was in high school, before I was in college, I would think this and I would hear this term so loosely, like people would just throw it out there, like they put themselves in this box that they're genetically predisposed to be in. And we just want to clear that up for you today. We want to come to you and lay this out for you, lay the truth here so that you can understand it, you can decipher it, you can analyze your genetics and what your body is capable of doing. And most importantly, we're going to show you how to outwork it, how to maximize your potential and grow and truly achieve new levels. Because here's one fact right here, guys. You are not stuck in a box. The coolest thing, the most important secret you'll ever learn about the human being is our mind. Our mind has the power to create, to destroy, to achieve so many amazing, phenomenal feats that we can't even like begin to comprehend it. Like the whole human race, the whole evolution was all constructed from somebody's thoughts. Like this screen that we're watching was literally constructed in somebody's mind before they created it. Like that's just so incredible. You can literally do so many things just by cultivating and unlocking the powers of your mind. Now, we're going to get into that here in a second, but I want you to understand, and I want you to really dive in and grasp what genetics really are. So Josh and I are going to dive in deep on this today for you guys to help you understand what it means when somebody says, my genetics. I think this would be a great place to start. Let's talk about like what genetics are.
Genetics are basically how you're made up. So your genetics determine your skin tone, your hair color, your eye color, your height, your ability to put on muscle or lose fat, or how big your potential is to have big biceps or calves. I know from an athletic development standpoint, a big contributor to getting a sneak peek into seeing what like someone's athletic potential is naturally how big or small their calves are. That's usually a good indicator of just naturally if someone's got big calves, they're probably going to be a bigger person, and or they have a bunch of untapped athletic potential. But to keep it really simple, your genetics are basically what you're made of, or like the basic foundational units of the human body, and they are what creates Dylan and Josh and whomever.
Yeah, and you, the listener, right here. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. They're the sequence, the code, the program at which we can use to make up our lives, to activate, to use our lives. If you want to think about it in simple terms here, because I know this concept is huge here. It's really, really hard to grasp all at once. So to make this a little easier for you, let's think about a computer. Let's think about this thing that we're viewing on your phone even, or your desktop computer, your tablet, whatever you're watching this on right here. Let's think about this, all right? The DNA, your genetic code is very similar to the software, to the programs, right? To the programs that enable the software to work. So this program, all right, if you think about computer programming, programs can be manipulated. Programs can be changed. They're not hardwired. They're not set in stone. They can be altered. They can be made better. They can also be made worse, but it's all dependent on the computer programmer, all right? The person, the individual that uses this and that manipulates that code. So if like similar code to like, if you're thinking about computers, like the ones and zeros, the numeric code, the language of computers, it's similar to that. So most important thing, guys, just know that yes, there are certain things we cannot change, like what our hair color is, the size of our fingers, the length of our muscle belly, the size of our shoulders, the bone structures. We can change certain things, and neuroscience is showing this as well. A great resource to check out, guys, is Dr. Joe Dispenza. He is a neuroscientist that's been studying the brain and doing scans and all different types of studies with the brain for the past couple decades here, 2-3 decades. To understand kind of what genetics are, you got to really understand that it is a program, or it's a type of program, right? It's not set in stone. That's the most important thing I want you to understand, because we hear so many times, right, Josh? I'm sure you've had athletes as well, that come in and say, my genetics aren't good. I'll never be as strong as or as fast as Usain Bolt. While you may never look like him, you might be able to become faster. So let's dive a little bit deeper into that. Like, what can you do to really understand your body and how to maximize your genetic potential?
Right. So I think the biggest thing is that to say that everyone has unlimited potential is true and false. True because my genetics are eventually going to be capped out at a certain point. What I mean by that is I'm 6'1", maybe 6'2" right now. My mind can't make me 6'8", 255 pounds and be able to dunk a basketball like LeBron James. Like, from a genetic standpoint, you can't switch that. But what you can do is you can maximize your genetic potential, get every ounce of what your body physically, mentally, emotionally can produce. And the biggest thing I think it starts with is just being consistent in the way you take care of your body. I mean, at the end of the day, yes, lifting weights is huge. Yes, being physically active is huge. But at the end of the day, you're not going to give a Ferrari basic racing fuel. You're going to give the Ferrari premium racing fuel, which means you got to make sure you got to get enough sleep, you got to eat the proper foods, you got to get enough nutrition, you got to get the micronutrients, the macronutrients, all that kind of stuff. That's the base level. Once you start to do that, now you are fueling your body in a way that has the potential to get as much out of it as possible. Now it's up to you when you're going to the gym, you're going on runs, you're doing things that now allow your body to perform at a higher level. And so I think at the end of the day, how do you maximize your potential from a genetic standpoint when it comes down to it, it's going to be the habits that you do on a day in and day out. We've talked about habits before,
Yes.
but at the end of the day, that's really what it comes down to, because what you feed yourself, what you ingest from a information standpoint, how much sleep you get, all that plays a factor. Like, yes, do you have some freaks out there that get away with like eating candy and they're a professional athlete and they eat candy their entire life? Or like Chad Ochocinco ate McDonald's multiple times a week as a professional football player. Like, yeah, the guy's a freak, but not very many people can do that. That's just not possible.
Mm-hmm.
So I think when it starts off, you got to start at the very basic foundation. It all comes down to what you're putting into your body. That's going to be the first and foremost.
I love what you said about the race car, right? About you don't give a Ferrari like normal gas, right? You got to have special stuff. You got to focus on making sure you maximize that engine. And that is such a great analogy for the body, for the human mind, the human body, the human will. Because what you put in your body, you become. There's if you haven't, maybe you've thought about this, maybe you've heard this in basic biology, like we are made up of cells. We're made up of trillions and trillions of cells. I think it's close to like over 700 trillion cells, something like that.
Yeah, that's a ridiculous amount.
Yeah, some crazy number. And every second we create 10 billion new cells. We also lose 10 billion cells. So every second, our body is transforming. Our body is creating new cells. And what you need to understand by this is what you eat you literally become. That old saying, I'm sure you've heard it. This is the truth, because if you think about this, guys, your cells, you're reproducing based off of the old cells. It's splitting, it's creating new cells, and that one is splitting, creating new cells. If that first cell is damaged because you're ingesting poor nutrients into your body continuously, then that cell becomes diminished, and then it's producing more diminished cells. And over time, this is why health starts to decline. It's one of the factors of why health starts to decline. You can see here what you put into your body literally becomes you. You have a chance to change what your body becomes based on what you ingest. So that's why it's so critical to make sure that you are ingesting and eating and consuming non-toxic food and material and minerals, and nutrients that are going to help your body fully run optimally. No harmful toxins, no high sugars, no all this bad stuff that honestly, it's all around us, man. We are living in a toxic environment, and at the basics of it, our body's built to do this. Our body's built to live in a toxic environment. The system is able to, what's the word I'm looking for? It's clean itself and to create new cells and to detoxify itself. That's the word I'm looking for here. So it's not horrible that we're living in a bad environment. What we got to think about is we just have to be that much more careful, that much more particular about what we put into our body. It absolutely matters, man. Our body is a temple. And the Bible references this all the time. And this is a very big reason why, because our body is a temple. Our body is more powerful than we're led to believe. We don't even understand fully. We don't even know fully the powers of our body and the powers of the mind and the spirit as well. But it just goes to show, once you really put in good food, once you really put in good fuel, that Ferrari, your body, is going to run optimally like it should. And that's what we should strive for, because that's the baseline. From there, we can start to achieve more success. We can start to exceed our predisposed genetics, what was passed down by our parents, which is another very interesting thing to talk about. And we'll get into that later, but you gotta understand. First, you gotta know your body. First, you gotta understand, okay, what works best with my body? What foods work best? What does my body agree with? How does it affect my digestive system? How do I feel from eating that food? Intuitively, you gotta go in deep. You gotta be mindful of how it feels, right? You gotta be in tune. You gotta be in tune with your body, and that's what intuition and being intuitive is. From there, you can start to understand and grasp, okay, this works really well, but I feel like dog crap after this. So I'm going to cut that out. I'm going to stick with this. I'm going to make sure I keep putting this type of good food into my body. And eventually, you start to feel so different. You know how I said earlier about every second we're creating 10 billion new cells. 10 billion old cells are dying. 10 billion new cells are replacing those. Within a matter of weeks, we have a whole new body. Like, that's how cool this is. Like, this is why you are not what you were in the past, because that body's done. That body's gone. Those cells are dead. You are a new living creature. You're a new body. So don't live based on the past. Live in the now. And don't live for what the future is going to be. Live in the now, because this is the only thing that matters. This is what we can control and change. So once you understand what your body is capable of or what your body needs, then you can start to build that baseline, improve off of it, and grow and see what you can truly accomplish. Because if you put your mind to it, man, you can do incredible things. And we've seen this time and time again, just with athletes alone, just playing sports, right? I'm sure you've had coaches that have said, you got to have heart, you got to have a strong mind. If you put your mind to it, you can do it. Man, that's one thing as an athlete I've always heard so much, dude. I've heard coaches talk about, man, he has heart. He just doesn't have heart. I always wondered what that meant, right? I always wondered what that meant to have heart. And now, after studying the human body, studying the mind, living this intuitive life, and going deep into meditation and understanding myself, I started to understand that heart was that willpower, that drive to keep pushing on, that drive to break out of this genetic predisposure of this box that the society wants us to live in, saying you'll never be this, you should stick with what you have been because that's all you will be. That's a load of crap, man. You got to have heart. You got to keep pushing. coaching, you can break out of that box. You can become what you were designed to be, what you were destined to be. You understand the baseline when you grasp what your body can do, and we can move to maximizing your potential. Like Josh was saying, you got to put the good food in, you got to put the good fuel in your body. And this isn't something you just do once or twice and then go back to your bad habits. You have to create sustainable success habits. And that right there, what Josh said earlier, is such a fundamental tool for understanding how human beings operate. Our habits. Let's talk a little bit more about maximizing. Bring it back to strength, conditioning, and athletics, and building muscle, losing weight. I always hear that I just cannot build muscle. I just cannot lose weight. Here's a great one. I can't lose weight because my family is obese and I will be obese. How false is that? Right? Let's talk about that. Let's break that apart. Why is that so false? Why is that?
I mean, for one, it's false because you're not your parents. You're your own individual. And so therefore, like if you want something bad enough, you'll be willing to make the changes to do so. Now, I believe that for those people who come from a obese or severely overweight family, their mom and their dad were obese, their brother and their sister are obese, a bunch of family members are obese. I mean, we're the old saying is like 5 degrees of separation. You're within five people of your ideal client, whatever it might be, but you're also a product of the environment that you're around in. If you're brought up and you're around nothing but fat people the entire day, all day, every day, like you're going to start to take on those habits of those people. And therefore, you are going to be programmed by the 5 people that you hang around most that I'm fat, I can't lose weight, I can't do this, I can't do that. That's so that's kind of like the basis of what we're talking about is you start to have this habitual thought of it comes in, it comes out, it comes in, it comes in, it comes in. And then you're around the habits of those fat people. So at first, like in order to lose that weight, you have to break away from that environment. And that's usually scary because again, your body wants to conserve energy by creating habits. Well, those habits have caused you to become fat and overweight. So you need to first by getting away from the environment. Unfortunately, it's very hard for some people because their support system is not very supportive of that. So you got to get away from those people. And it's very tough, especially if you're living at home, like with your parents or something like that. But the first step is get away from that environment. And then 2, you have to figure out and you have to be very introspective. And you have to look at yourself and be like, okay, what are the things that I'm doing that I don't even realize? And then take a step back. What are the things that I'm doing that I know I'm doing that are contributing to this? And then those should be the first things off of your quote unquote hierarchy list of like, okay, I know I'm doing these. These are the things that I can fix right now. Once you've mastered those, now it's time to like take a really deep look inside and be like, okay, what are some things that I might be doing naturally, habitually? Again, you don't even know that you're doing these because it just comes so automatically. What are those things that I'm doing that could be the core reason why I'm not losing weight or I gained so much weight, yada, yada, yada.
That's good.
One of my clients was a chronic stress eater. Like whenever she would get stressed, she would eat. If she was stressed with work, she'd go eat. If she was stressed at home, she'd go to the pantry. If she was stressed on the way to work or something like that and she's in her car, she'd stop at a gas station and get something. Usually it was sweets or something like that. And the first part was like, okay, for us, you can't stop being stressed. Like there's always going to be stresses in life. So we took a different angle and was like, okay, what can we do to get you to not be so stressed? And our way was, okay, meditation. Obviously, if you're driving on an expressway, you can't just close your eyes and meditate for 10 minutes. Like that's not possible. It's really dangerous.
Very dangerous.
But what you can do is you can do some breathing, or you can, for her, it was finding out, okay, when you're stressed, you do this. How can we prevent you from getting stressed to the point where you just start stressing? Well, the first off is stress management. So we found out a couple techniques. We played back and forth for a couple months, and we found something. It's like, okay, now she's not as stressed. And then we're like, okay, now what are the situations or environments that you are in when you get stressed? Some of those you have to be in: work, family, so on and so forth. Other times you just have to be, other times you can control the environment that you're in. And I think you got to build up from there. And a lot of times it's tough work. It's not easy,
No.
because the only one that can fix it is you. And it's the blessing and the curse about, we'll say, self-development and genetics and everything else, is the only person that can fix it is you. And it's entirely up to, how bad do you want to lose the weight? How bad do you want to get bigger or leaner or faster or stronger, or whatever the case might be?
Yeah. What's your heart? How much of your heart do you want to put in it? Right there. Yeah, I love what you said. Moving back to the first step, you said you're talking about how you're a product of the people you surround yourself with. That is such a powerful statement. And maybe you, the listener, have heard this before, but let's just understand this. This analogy I heard from Josh and I's one of our favorite mentors. Product who you surround yourself with doesn't always have to be a physical person. It can be people you listen to. And this, for example, for us, is Bedros Killian. He talks about this crab analogy for the people you surround yourself with. He said he went fishing this one time, and with his dad, I think it was, or family member. Anyway, he said they went fishing, and this guy, they put all these crabs into a bucket, and they're just scratching and clawing, trying to get out. And he said, as he was watching this in this bucket, he saw one crab in particular, one crab that said, I'm just getting out of here, man. So he was climbing over all the other crabs, and he was reaching the top. And just before he was right at that top, where he was about to break free from his limitations, break free from the box that he was in, all the other crabs saw it, grabbed him, and pulled him back in. Now, this is the power of who you surround yourself with. Are you surrounding yourself with people who are going to pull you back down to this lower habit, lower vibration life, where you're going to be stuck in these bad habits and this bad environment? Or are you surrounding yourself with people who are going to be reaching from the top of that tub to pull you out of it? This is serious. Like, these crabs are a great analogy for how the human behavior works as well. Because if you are surrounding yourself with people who are leading you, like Josh was saying, to have bad habits that consistently keep you in this overweight mentality, this overweight physical status, then you're just damaging yourself. You have to break free from that. You have to surround yourself with people who are going to pull you up, not bring you down. All right. And like we just said with Bedros Killian right there, it is who you surround yourself doesn't always have to be who you physically surround yourself with. Look for mentors, learn from the greats on YouTube, listen to podcasts, put this in your energy, in your space, in your mind, in your ears all the time. This is going to help you clear out that bad negative juju, that bad negative junk, and fill your mind, consume good, positive things that are going to help you, that are going to help you learn, help you grow, and help you become better than what you are. That is so key. Such a powerful analogy.
For sure. And I think the biggest thing to kind of like really sum up in a really short, easy point, what we've just covered these last like 10 minutes or so, is like, at the end of the day, think about it like this: you will never ever be criticized from someone doing more than you. You will always be criticized, or you will always have the crabs in your life, and those crabs will always be people that are doing less than you. And so the way I look at it is, if you're getting criticized or people are talking shit about you, whether it's friends, whether it's family, whatever it might be, odds are you're doing something that they either, excuse my language, don't have the balls to do, or you're doing something more than them. and you're highlighting something within them that they don't like. And so therefore, because they're not willing to make those changes, they're going to do whatever they can to keep you down. Because like, when have you like mentors? I've never been criticized by a mentor in my life. Never.
No, never.
It doesn't happen.
No. And if it does, it's in a way that stops you from continuing to do something harmful to yourself, not to beat you down, but to change you and turn you to a different direction, you know?
Yeah,
People,
adjust.
yeah, those mentors, exactly, Josh. You know, they're not going to bring you down. They're not going to say things that are intentionally hurting you, that are trying to just beat you down and get you to feel bad about yourself so they can feel happier about themselves. That's not the person you want to surround yourself with. And if that brings to mind a couple people right there from saying that, I think you already know who you need to cut out of your life. And here's another point with cutting people out. You know, it's not healthy to just take the scissors and just cut the string. That's not good. You know, we have family members that sometimes could do that. I know there's some people in my life that are extremely close to me that I can't just cut out. It's not fair, you know, whether they be family, you know, business partners, friends, whatever it may be. Like, you can't just cut people out. It's not always the best idea. And this is where Josh's point, where he was talking about his client learning these bad habits and understanding what makes her stressful and understanding the cues that leads to these bad reactions, these eating habits. You got to understand, okay, if this person causes me to be stressed, causes me to feel negative feelings, negative thoughts. Okay, I need to not focus on them. I need to not stop them from being themselves. I need to focus on myself. I need to flip that and focus internally. How can I allow that just to wash right over me? How can I allow their comments, the way they're acting, what they're doing? How can I allow that not to affect me? How can I be the source of light for them? You know? So it's not about cutting people out entirely. That's never healthy. That's almost a narcissistic way to look at things.
Right.
And we want to make sure we're doing positive things. We're doing good for the world, the environment, for everything around us, because we're all connected. You know, throw out bad, throw out evil, it's going to come right back to you. And we don't want that. We want to throw out good. We want to throw out positive, so we can make the world, our entire environment, a positive place. So think about that. Think of ways that you can see, okay, if, like, for example, what Josh is saying with his client, if she gets stressed and then wants to eat, like they were talking about, they identified what causes her to stress. The cues are what we need to focus on, because while we can't change the habit itself, we can stack habits. We can identify what causes those reactions, those actions. And then from that cue, from being overly stressed, maybe during driving, maybe in traffic, maybe in certain environments, we can identify those cues and then flip it. Like you said, do breathing exercises. All right. How can I become extremely aware of that cue that makes me stressed? And then how can I stack a different habit on top of that to allow myself to do something that's going to positively benefit my energy, my mood, my environment, and the energy that I give? How can I do something that's going to allow my light to shine? Like that, guys. And you'll start to notice things in a whole different way when you do that. It's truly profound, truly incredible.
Just kind of sum everything. I mean, you did a great job just summing everything up. I think at the end of the day, like, we all have our genetic potentials. We all have our genetics. We all are capped off at some point. Like, I'm not going to be able to grow to LeBron James. Like, that's just not possible. But what we can do is you can take the steps to maximize your genetic potential and get everything you can out of yourself, get everything you can out of your life. And I think that's ultimately what everyone wants. Like, when it comes down to like what self-development is, why we get bigger, why we get faster, why we get stronger, you want to see how big you can get. And I think a lot of people will find out that when you do go on that kind of journey, so to speak, it's a never-ending journey, because, like, yeah, you're strong. Okay, well, I want to get stronger. Or I'm big. Well, how big can I get? Excluding like the steroids and all that other stuff, because obviously that plays a huge part. But if you're just going straight natural, like, it's a never-ending process once you get the ball rolling. And I think that's where a lot of people They don't want it. They're afraid of that process.
Yeah, they're afraid of what they can actually achieve.
Mhm.
Success is scary. It really is. Hi guys, thank you for watching this video. I am so honored to be here, to be your guide, and to help you build the body of your dreams. If you found this video useful, if you liked it, share it with a friend, hit the subscribe button, hit the like, smash the bell so you can get notified when we create more muscle building content so you can learn the keys and the fundamentals of success. Thank you guys again for watching this, and I'll see you in the next one.